What if one sentence, just one, was enough to shake the soul of an entire fan base? That's exactly what happened when Paul Finebaum opened his mouth and dropped a prediction that's now ricocheting across Alabama. According to him, if the Crimson Tide beats Wisconsin this Saturday, the fans will act differently, not just celebrate, change the atmosphere. But what does that even mean? And why is this causing such a stir? This isn't just about a game. This is about identity, legacy, and the pride of a state that doesn't tolerate uncertainty when it comes to football. Here's what you need to know in the next 20 seconds. Alabama, fresh off a rebound win against Louisiana Monroe, is gearing up to face Wisconsin. The media isn't calling it a big game, but Finebaum's statement turned it into a psychological battle. He claims that if Alabama wins, the fans will regain a swagger that could shift the entire energy heading into the showdown with Georgia. That's not just talk. That's a provocation rooted in history, emotion, and expectation. And it raises a dangerous question. What happens if the performance falls short? Before we dive in, do this for us. And for Bama, drop in the comments where you're watching from right now. Hit that subscribe button and don't leave the video. Even if you're multitasking, let it roll. We've set a community goal, 500 new subscribers just from this video. If we reach it, we're dropping an exclusive deep dive on untold truths and backstage realities behind this new Alabama era. And trust me, the people who watch till the end get remembered first by the platform. That means you'll be ahead of everyone else when the next bombshell drops. So go ahead, subscribe, stay with us, and let's unravel what Finebaum may have really triggered this time. When news broke that Wisconsin's starting quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., would likely miss the game due to a knee sprain, a wave of premature celebration swept through Alabama's fan base. It was as if the victory had already been engraved into the scoreboard. The narrative was set. No QB, no chance. But that's the exact kind of thinking that kills momentum. Because while everyone's eyes were fixed on the injury report, they missed what was happening on the other side of the ball. Wisconsin's defense was locking things down with grit and discipline, as quietly highlighted by analysts at Roll Bama Roll. The expectations couldn't be clearer. Fans want domination. They want a 40-point spread, fireworks, and headlines screaming that Bama is back. But reality doesn't always follow script. Wisconsin has already proven through its first two games that it's more than a speed bump. Their defense is fast, physical, and, more dangerously, overlooked. And that's where the real threat lies. Not in the scoreboard, but in the psychological complacency that sets in when you think you've already won. If Alabama walks onto that field, believing the game is theirs by default, they're already 1 foot into the trap. Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, the worst losses come not from facing giants, but from underestimating the ones you call small. This matchup isn't about points. It's about preparation, mindset, and discipline. The emotional letdown that follows overconfidence can unravel everything Coach DeBoer is trying to build. So the question becomes, can Alabama shake off the arrogance and play like their season depends on it? Because it might. Replacing a legend isn't just about wins and losses, it's about managing ghosts. Kaleb DeBoer didn't inherit a team, he inherited a monument. Every step he takes is cast in the shadow of Nick Saban, a name that isn't just etched into Alabama's history, it is the history. And when you walk through halls built by dynasties, the weight of expectation doesn't whisper, it roars. According to Saturday Down South, Paul Finebaum didn't hold back, openly questioning how long it took DeBoer to connect with his players. That's more than just a critique. It's a warning flare. On paper, DeBoer is doing the right things, reworking schemes, building rapport, putting in the hours. But the silence between plays is louder than cheers right now. The fans aren't just watching the scoreboard. They're reading body language, measuring charisma, and asking themselves, does this guy feel like Alabama? In a program where culture and confidence have always walked hand in hand, DeBoer doesn't just have to lead, he has to embody, and that's a terrifying standard when the man before you won 6 national titles. Here's the raw truth. DeBoer doesn't get a honeymoon phase, he gets a stopwatch. Every game, every press conference, every awkward pause is being clocked. The emotional volatility of this fan base, especially after the Florida State loss, has turned every snap into a referendum. And if momentum slips again, if the team falters even slightly, will the tide turn against him? Can DeBoer withstand another hit to the program's morale, or is he already running on borrowed time? Not every win echoes through history, but some wins don't need to. After Alabama's bounce-back victory over Louisiana Monroe, the scoreboard didn't matter nearly as much as the feeling. It wasn't just about defeating a lesser opponent, it was about proving that belief could still live inside this team. As reported by Roll Tide Press, the air around the program shifted ever so slightly. A spark lit where doubt had smoldered. And in a fan base, this passionate, even the faintest glow of momentum can become wildfire. This is the strange psychology of victory. It's not the size of the opponent, it's the size of the emotional vacuum the win fills. After a humbling loss to Florida State, Alabama didn't just need a win, it needed a reason to believe again. Coaches, players, fans, they all needed to feel like the sky wasn't falling. And now, with Wisconsin on the horizon, that fragile belief is being tested. Because this next game isn't just another name on the schedule, it's a filter. It separates hype from progress and hope from illusion. And here's where it gets dangerous. Belief, once restored, becomes addictive. But can it survive resistance? That's the real test now. Will this team and this fan base have the emotional stamina to keep believing if Wisconsin pushes back? Or was the Monroe win just a sugar high, disguising deeper issues waiting to resurface? There's something uniquely dangerous about a victory followed by a break. With a full week off between Wisconsin and the showdown against Georgia, this isn't just a game, it's a setup, a psychological and strategic hinge. Paul Finebaum noted it bluntly. This is Alabama's last real chance to walk into that Georgia game with their heads held high. It's not just about beating Wisconsin, it's about beating them well and letting that echo through the locker room during the silence of the bye week. But that silence can go two ways. Win big, and the week becomes a runway, a stretch to build momentum, tighten execution, and breathe belief into the system. Win small or worse, struggle against a supposedly weaker opponent, and that same week becomes a pressure cooker. No media distractions, just doubt looping on repeat. A dominant win builds swagger, a sloppy one feeds suspicion. And that can fester during downtime in ways no coach can fully control. That's the line Alabama is walking. The schedule gave them a gift, time. But time without purpose is dangerous. It allows fear, speculation, and second-guessing to fill the void. So the question isn't just, can they beat Wisconsin? It's how they beat them. Because this pause could be the moment everything stabilizes, or the crack where everything begins to fall apart. Alabama football isn't just a sport. It's a faith passed from generation to generation. It's in the framed photos above kitchen tables, in the worn-out jerseys hanging on bedroom walls, and in the voices that scream, "Roll Tide," with tears, not just pride. This isn't casual fandom, it's devotion. And that's what makes every win feel like salvation and every loss feel like betrayal. After the defeat to Florida State, Paul Finebaum didn't mince words, calling the fan reaction one of the worst meltdowns I've ever witnessed. It wasn't just pain, it was identity crisis. Because when you build your sense of self around a program that's won for so long, any sign of decline hits like an earthquake, The banners, the rings, the parades, they're not just memories. They're proof of belonging to something greater. And when cracks appear in that legacy, it's not just football that's at stake, it's belief. This fan base doesn't want transition, they want triumph. And patience? That's a luxury they were never taught to need. But now that faith is being tested like never before. Can a community so conditioned to winning learn to rebuild? Can they cheer through setbacks instead of jeering at them? Because blind faith can elevate, but it can also blind. And as the tide looks to reclaim its roar, the real question becomes, will the fans stay loud enough to help rebuild it? Or will their silence echo louder than the scoreboard ever could? They wear the same colors, walk the same tunnel, and hear the same roar. But this Alabama team isn't built like the ones from the Saban era. These are kids, many barely 19, stepping into a coliseum of expectation they didn't create but are expected to uphold. To the outside world, they're athletes. To Alabama fans, they're guardians of a legacy. As Roll Bama Roll pointed out, this generation now bears the burden of proving that the program still carries championship DNA, even without the architect who built it. But what does that feel like from inside the helmet? Imagine walking onto the field, knowing that every misstep isn't just a mistake, it's a blemish on a myth. That every incomplete pass, every missed tackle isn't just yours, it's borrowed shame from ghosts of greatness. The weight doesn't just sit on your shoulders, it clings to your chest. The cheers are deafening, but so is the silence when you fail. And no one sees the moments in the locker room after the game, when helmets come off and eyes meet the cold truth of pressure unspoken. How much expectation can a teenager carry before it buckles his spine? That's the invisible war being fought on Saturdays, not just between goalposts, but in the minds of players who are still becoming men. They aren't just chasing victory, they're trying to earn the right to be called Alabama, and in a place where tradition never sleeps, that fight is more mental than physical and far more unforgiving. To understand the emotional temperature of this fan base, you have to go back, not to the last game, but to the last decade. Alabama has faced Georgia 10 times in recent memory. They've walked away victorious in 9 of them. That kind of dominance doesn't just build confidence, it breeds ownership. As Roll Tide Press reminded, many Alabama fans still believe they own Georgia. That phrase isn't just bragging rights, it's muscle memory from years of controlling the narrative. But there's a scar hiding underneath all that swagger, the 2021 National Championship game. Georgia finally punched back and made it count when the whole world was watching. For the Bulldogs, it was vindication. For Alabama, it was the kind of loss that lingers. Not because it broke a streak, but because it cracked the illusion of invincibility. And no matter how many wins came before it, that one moment altered the psychological balance between these two programs. So now, every whisper of the Georgia game reignites that tension. Is this still a rivalry rooted in dominance, or has the power begun to shift quietly? The past tells one story, but the future is being written in whispers and silence, in locker rooms and quiet corners of doubt. Does Alabama still intimidate Georgia? Or is it Alabama that now fears what Georgia has become? You can hear it in the stands before kickoff. The chants, the drums, the signs lifted high, still our house. After losses, after doubt, after headlines scream that the dynasty is over, the faithful roar louder. On social media, the fire never dies. Memes, remixes, fan cams soaked in nostalgia. The digital defiance of a fan base that refuses to let go. This isn't just loyalty, it's rebellion. A protest against time, change, and any reality that doesn't end in rings. In stadiums, it's more than noise, it's theater. Banners resurrecting Saban, shirts that mock Georgia's one lucky year. Old men with decades of season tickets screaming louder than students. The vibe is clear. You can doubt us. We won't. And that energy, that unwavering swagger may be surging again. Paul Finebaum recently said it himself. If Alabama beats Wisconsin, expect that confidence to return fast. But here's the twist. He wasn't celebrating it, he was warning about it. So what is this resurgence of belief? Is it the pride of a fan base rediscovering its heartbeat? Or the delusion of refusing to evolve? Because when confidence becomes arrogance, you stop growing. And the question becomes harder to ignore. Is this a roar of revival, or the last echo before the silence? Paul Finebaum didn't accidentally stir the pot. He seasoned it. His comment about Alabama fans acting differently if the team beats Wisconsin wasn't just a hot take, it was a surgical strike. And the result? A frenzy. Social feeds lit up. Forums exploded. Instead of talking about defensive formations or offensive schemes, fans were arguing about what he said. The game faded into the background. Finebaum became the storm, and that perhaps was the point, because in college football, every great story needs a villain. Sometimes it's the rival, sometimes it's the media, sometimes it's your own expectations. Finebaum plays that role masterfully. The voice that says what no one wants to hear but everyone can't ignore. He pokes the bruise, waits for the wince, and watches the energy explode. He's not just observing the culture, he's engineering it. And whether you hate him or hang on his every word, you respond. That's power. But his success in hijacking the conversation forces a deeper reflection. Does Alabama still draw strength from competition? Or has it become addicted to conflict? Maybe it's not Georgia they need to beat. Maybe it's themselves. Because when a program spends more time fighting ghosts than building foundations, even victories can feel hollow. So what's the real rival now? The teams on the schedule, or the pressure to be who they used to be? While fans scream for domination and media spins narratives of urgency, Kaleb DeBoer is playing a longer game. One built in whispers, not headlines. Behind closed doors, sources close to Bama Roll have detailed the intense practices, the sharp mental focus, and the cultural recalibration happening under his leadership. There's no grand speech, no dramatic gesture, just work. Quiet, calculated, often thankless work. It's not glamorous, it's foundational. DeBoer isn't just trying to win games, he's trying to redefine what it means to win at Alabama. That means changing habits built over dynasties, redirecting energy from nostalgia to necessity. Every rep in practice is a message, every drill a reminder. Greatness isn't inherited, it's earned. But in a program addicted to instant legacy, that message takes time to land. And in Tuscaloosa, time is the rarest luxury of all. This is a classic hero's arc, not of glory, but of resistance. DeBoer isn't fighting other teams, he's fighting the weight of memory. Every step forward feels like dragging a mountain behind him. And it begs the question, how long will this fan base allow the bricks to be laid before they demand the castle be built? Because vision without patience is a fire that burns its architect. And DeBoer may be running out of matches. There's a moment just before kickoff when the noise fades. Thousands of voices go quiet, not from fear, but from focus. The lights hit the turf, the air tightens, and the stadium becomes something sacred. This isn't just a game against Wisconsin. It's a ritual, a test, a metaphor for something far greater than yards and points. It's the chance for Alabama, for its players, coaches, and fans to rise from the ashes of doubt and reclaim the power to define their own story. The field is no longer just grass and paint. It's the altar where resurrection is either proven or denied. If Alabama dominates, this won't be seen as just a win. It will be seen as rebirth. And that's the narrative Paul Finebaum alluded to. This exact moment is when Alabama can take back control of how the nation sees them, not as fading royalty, but as warriors rising again, brick by brick, play by play. This isn't about proving doubters wrong. It's about reminding themselves who they've always been. But time is not infinite. The window to reframe this season, to reawaken belief, to rally the fan base, to unify the locker room, is narrowing. Every second that ticks down is another chance lost. So if Alabama makes that statement against Wisconsin, will the world be listening, or will they have tuned out too soon, assuming the story was over? Because the roar is coming, but the silence before it, that might be the most important sound of all. This story was never just about football. It was about identity, belief, and the quiet power of starting over when everyone expects you to fold. Alabama's journey this season mirrors something deeper within all of us. The fear of falling short, the pressure to live up to legacy, and the strength it takes to stand back up when the world is watching. In many ways, this team represents more than a program in transition. It reflects the raw, imperfect beauty of trying again, not because you're guaranteed to win, but because you refuse to walk away. Failure, when seen in the right light, is not the end of greatness. It's the proving ground for it. What Alabama fans are learning, what we're all learning, is that dynasties aren't just forged in victory. They're tested in doubt. They're rebuilt in silence. They're reborn in resilience. If this team can reclaim its soul through work, trust, and belief, then maybe that's the message we all needed to hear. You don't have to be who you were. You just have to become who you're meant to be. Thank you for staying with us all the way through. This wasn't just a breakdown of a game. It was a reflection of a journey. And if this resonated with you, if you saw a piece of yourself in this story, we've prepared something special. In the pinned comment below, you'll find a link to our exclusive ebook, a deeper look into the mindset, the leadership, and the behind-the-scenes truths that shape programs like Alabama. If it makes sense for you to grab it, know that doing so helps our channel grow and allows us to keep delivering stories that matter. Because this is more than content, it's connection.